David Davies, and I'm the Managing Director of Edinburgh Rugby. And day to day, I guess I get involved in every aspect of our undertaking. So I came today because I felt that the quality of the presentations was such that I would actually get something out of this as opposed to just trying to network through it.
And as a senior executive at a club, presumably on a day-to-day basis, it's quite a diverse role and you have to fulfil a lot of different tasks during the week.
Oh yeah, if I was doing the advert for a student coming in, I'd say you've got to accept that it's going to be one of those environments which you need to exhibit flexibility. And I suspect that having been in it probably for too many years, it's changed, you have to change with it. And so this kind of event helps to keep a little bit of a temperature check on what's going on in other spheres of the same sport.
And you've worked in rugby union in New Zealand?
No, I was in the stadium, which
yeah.
held Super 15. I've been involved in entertainment and sport since 1984, which was probably before many of the viewers of this site were born. I've been involved in professional sports since 1994, and I've been involved in professional rugby union since about 2000. And so over that 14 years, I can absolutely put my hand on my heart. So I can actually remember when people had straightforward a website and we all thought it was revolutionary. So it's changed hugely in that length of time.
And in terms of the stadia in New Zealand compared to the stadia at Edinburgh, obviously playing in Murrayfield at the moment, is there, from your experiences in that sphere, is there a big difference in the hemispheres, or is it largely the same?
Okay. Looking back on it, and today gave me pause for thought. 3 great years in Dunedin with Forsyth Barr Stadium, getting the building complete in time for the 2011 World Cup. The stadium had its challenges because it was the first and still remains the first stadium with a fixed roof and natural grass. But we were also trying to make sure that the customer experience was a significant step forward for that market. New Zealand, because of the size of the economy, has a lot of facilities that fulfil both cricket and rugby, and so to have a dedicated what I'd call a field sports facility, and by that I mean soccer, rugby league, rugby union, as distinct from cricket. The customer experience improves because you're that much closer to the action, but actually we wanted to make that just the starting point for improvement. And so to listen to some of the discussions around touch points and moments of truth, I'm glad that we listened to some of those discussions 3 or 4 years ago, because the use of technology to ensure that the transition from the decision to buy a ticket, which could have been made a couple of weeks in advance of the game, to the point where people are going home afterwards, that experience is enhanced as much as possible. So trying to get through the gates, trying to park, trying to buy once you've been inspired by what's going on inside the stadium, were encased in what we were trying to educate our staff about. Also to try and get the technology on the inside of the stadium. But of course a lot of people who are here today just haven't had the opportunity to use public money, which is what we were using, to get that inside the stadium. So for some people it's an evolutionary path. In our case in New Zealand it was revolutionary. And I think for those people who are down in Dunedin, they probably need to get past the fact that the building, whether it should be there or shouldn't be there, too late. It's been there now nearly 18 months. So I think coming together and saying, look, let's make sure that experience as a punter is as good as it possibly can be, is the most constructive way forward.
And you mentioned the roof and natural grass. Obviously, there's a big debate with artificial turf. Was that an option for the stadium now?
We looked at all of it, including putting in plastic. But if you put in plastic, there's no point in having a roof. But what we've found subsequently, and what they've found subsequent to me leaving, has been that they've had, I think now 10 concerts, which simply wouldn't have played there if they didn't have a roof. So there's a whole part of their undertaking which has developed in partnership with the city, the university, that simply wouldn't have been there previously. And let's be clear about it, the climate between both the South Island and the UK is very similar. We all suffer with howling wind, driving rain, and a chronic shortage of good quality heat and sunlight. And to have that taken out of the equation for a rock and roll promoter is a significant benefit. But again, we're still talking about, okay, you've taken that bit out of it. How do you deal with the day-to-day stuff in shows about getting in, being able to move around the building? People are there for longer than they are for a sport, so on that basis, can we cater for them? Can we make them comfortable? How do we deal with queries? All those kind of humdrum stuff that goes into having a big event, particularly when you've got sort of 40 to 50,000 people there. I think there were challenges, and there remains challenges. There always will be challenges.